lyrics of Ricky Byer's song, when I can love myself so much, then you can love you so much. And that's the dance that we've got going on in life. It's this human walk in the world, this razor's edge that we walk as human beings. We're talking this entire month about being in body. We're all in a body this time around. We're all wearing a people suit, and part of our journey is to embrace all the stuff that goes along with that and to remember where we came from. That's really what it's all about. And if we could actually live that, we could all just go home and live a happy life forever, right? But it's not that easy. It isn't that easy to remember within the human condition to claim our sacredness so that we can actually love who we are, to express our loveliness, to be our loveliness in the world. I like Sharon Salzberg's language around that, to be our loveliness. You know, it isn't about being lovable or loving. It's about being loveliness. It's a different concept. I am that. I am that love. And I have to know about that for myself. And when I know that for myself, then I can share it and be that as a model and as an example and as an energy for everybody else. We're that for each other. I love those children singing that song. When I love myself, I can facilitate you loving yourself, and then we all love each other. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So like Linda said, we're not talking about this ego-based loving ourselves, not at all. We're talking about this holy love, so to speak, claiming our sacredness. You know, when you were a kid, stand up straight, you know, put your shoulders back, lift your head high, you go on a job interview. Isn't that the way you want to show up? You know, all together. I'm talking about having that perspective of yourself as an inside job. I'm talking about loving yourself from the inside so that you always have a sense of having your head held high, so that you always have a sense of walking strongly in the world with your shoulders held high, not that sort of droopy, you know, oh, I'm so unlovable, unworthy, you know, undervalued, I'm this being that nobody could possibly care about, and I don't care about me either. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this idea of claiming this holy place within that is this sacred place, this sacredness that we really are, this place from where we came. And what I want to tell you is that, and we teach it here, we teach that we are a divine expression. We are part of the energy that God is. And by that very nature, nothing that ever happens out there, no failures, no missteps, no unskillful behavior, no oops, you know, foot in the mouth comments, nothing can ever stain the energy of our absolute beauty and purity and essential nature as a loving, lovable, lovely being. Nothing can stain that. And we are often taught in our journey that that's not the truth. Is that the truth? Some of us have come through religious systems, we've come through family systems, we've come through cultural traditions where we have to, you know, walk through that straight, narrow gate, or something isn't right. We step off into the sinful nature. We step off into the unskillful nature, whatever. And I'm telling you that we are intrinsically good. We are intrinsically beautiful. We are intrinsically lovable. We are intrinsically loving. We are intrinsically lovely. And this lovely is the part that is so hard for us to wrap our mind around, because so much stuff gets in the way. We judge ourselves, we criticize ourselves, we compare ourselves to other people in oh so many ways, and you know what I'm talking about. But when we really love ourselves, it's that antidote for not feeling thin enough, smart enough, clever enough, young enough, whatever your cultural systems define as, you know, enough. When we can step into loving who we really are at the level of this sacred place, then all of that sort of goes away, and we get it that we are not, you know, unlovable, that we're not of lower value than someone else. Our life doesn't take a low priority, that we can stand strong with this sense of inner head up straight sort of thing. And by the way, if we don't love ourselves first, and we're looking for it out there, like Linda said, we're looking for validation out there, please love me, guess what happens? A lot of us know this. If we don't love ourselves first, then we step into that unhealthy relationship of love that's all about love me, please see me. That codependency that some of us know about, that painful search for intimacy, that painful search for somebody out there to complete the picture so that we feel lovely, so that we feel like we're worthwhile. If we don't love ourselves first, we're going to step into that trap, and that's a very painful trap. And I know every single one of us in one way or another has stepped in that trap more than once. This loss of boundaries where we don't see ourselves from this place of loveliness. And so, like Linda said, all of us have these chambers in our hearts, in our souls, where we want to stuff the stuff that we think doesn't make us lovable. The stuff that is all about our secret fears. Got any secret fears? Got any weaknesses you don't want anybody to know about? Got any doubts or flaws? Any beliefs about yourself that you might not be lovable, or that you might not be whatever, that you're in some way ugly to the world? You got any of that going on, in that you're hiding in those secret chambers of your soul? I think we all do that. That's what Linda was talking about, you know, this stuff that gets in the way and then creates this shadow work for us to do so that we can return to our wholeness. I was thinking about one of us who recently took the California bar exam and had high hopes. It's part of the expectation of seeing, you know, life out picture in a certain way, and had a big party plan. Relatives came in from out of town, you know, big celebration, and guess what? Didn't pass the bar. Didn't pass the bar. And there was a time there where I saw a Facebook posting, there was a time there where there was a little adjustment around, you know, how this all showed up, right? Some tears in those dark chambers of the soul where, you know, geez, I worked really hard, and you know, and I love the comment, well, you know, their loss. But behind that and underneath that is this secret chamber where there were the tears. And a couple days later, after 29 of her friends posted comments reminding her of her loveliness, reminding her of her brilliance, reminding her of her enoughness, so that she could see it for herself, she comes to a new place with this experience. But that's what we do when things don't go the way we want them to go, when relationships fall apart, right? When our finances fall apart and we have expectations around that, all of a sudden we start judging ourselves and comparing ourselves to others, and we get very shaky when it comes to remembering our sacred beauty, our sacred loveliness. So it's like Linda said, we've got to learn how to embrace all of it so that we don't forget our essential divinity. We don't forget our essential loveliness. It cannot be dependent on whether or not the people at the party recognize us and pay attention to us. It cannot be dependent on whether or not the relationship works out. It cannot be dependent upon whether or not the gift that someone gives us meets our expectation. It has to come from inside, so that, you know, from our soul's point of view, we can see ourselves in that loveliness. You know, all the stuff that goes on in our human life out there, whatever that is, all of that is part of our soul's journey too. All of that, not passing the bar, not being the beauty queen, not having the marriage work out, not having finances look the way we want them to look, not whatever. All of that is part of our soul's journey. And all of that is for us to take in and remember the truth of who we really are. Cherish that. Cherish that. And it's a process. This idea of self-love, of being able to embrace your own loveliness, it's a process. We have to set an intention to consciously, deliberately rejoice in our own goodness. I love that idea. I love the idea that Sharon Salzberg shares with us. Rejoice in our own beauty. Rejoice in our own loveliness. Claim it. Own it. Own that holy, sacred part of ourselves. Don't look for validation out there in all this stuff, the material stuff of the world. Claim it for yourself. You know, I go to a beauty shop where my granddaughter is a stylist, and there's a person there that has a serious problem with anorexia. And she's so thin that she really does look like she's not going to continue to survive. There's something going on there, and in the mind, it's not thin enough. Not thin enough. And if someone says to her, which I've never, but some people say, oh my goodness, you're so thin. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting there. This idea that we're not enough. You see what I'm saying? We buy into stuff that's harmful sometimes for us because we're not owning the beauty and the radiance that we already are. This place, this original place of beauty. And when we forget that, we have to relearn it for ourselves. We have to have this flowering from within, which is why I picked this image. You know, life is messy. Life gets dirty sometimes. Life is complex. Life hurts. And life is filled with joy too. But we're talking today about this idea that sometimes stuff just doesn't work out the way we planned it. Most of the stuff that's happened in my life over almost 66 years, guess what? I never intended any of it. It just happened. It just happened. And some of it, even now, is pretty messy, pretty dirty. And within that, all I can do is be me, love me, work on my chamber stuff. You know, my living situation is real interesting. I can't believe I'm so calm and loving myself through it. My pickiness, Glenda will attest to this, my pickiness is part of my dark chamber. I want it just like this. You know what? I love myself enough today that I can allow that to be. Do you hear what I'm saying? I don't have to have my home look like a movie. It did at one time. It doesn't anymore. And I'm okay with that because I love me, and because I love me, I then can allow all of that to love itself too. And I can share, and there's enough to go around, whatever it is. There's no sense of lack with it. But if I don't love myself and know who I am in the midst of all of my life experience that gets a little dirty sometimes, by the way, that includes 7 cats, 5 dogs, 2 huge tortoises. One example.
And a husband.
And a husband. Yeah, that too. Thank you. Our husband, we share him. Well, not really. Sort of. So what I need to do is, in order for me to claim my loveliness, to love myself, I've got to let the parts of my story that I don't love just go. I just have to let those parts of my story go. I got to release that, bless myself, love myself, allow everybody else to love themselves, and I can't put any more negative stuff in my story. I can't start filling my new story up with negative stuff. I gotta live a love story, my very own love story, and I can't do that if I don't love myself. If I don't love myself, and guess what? Life's gonna have ups and downs, just like the bar exam, that situation, or the grandson that you haven't seen for 3.5 years, or whatever all that stuff looks like. Life will have its ups and downs, and I'm here to tell you, and this gives us some comfort to know that our loving ourselves is gonna also have some ups and downs. We have to embrace that, let that be, and pull ourselves back as often as we can and remember who we really are when this stuff that we don't like happens to us. To claim our sacred self, to celebrate ourselves. Focus your attention on what you love about yourself. Do the shadow work if you've got to do that, and then live your own love story. I just love that invitation. Live your very own love story. And guess what? And this is a by the way. Our authors tell us, when we love ourselves, when we truly love ourselves from a deep place within, when we can bless our own journey, we sleep easy, we wake up easy, we have pleasant dreams, we have self-respect, we move through life with grace, with a sense of confidence, we are non-harmful, and guess what? Not only do we bring forth love and care for ourselves, but we bring forth this energy of love and care for each other. I love that. When we love ourselves, it makes a difference in the world. So the invitation this week is work with the handout that we gave you this week. It gives you 3 opportunities to take a look at those places in your life where you think that you're not loving, lovable, or lovely enough. Take a look at those places and see if you can get a new view of what that might be. Find a new way to look at it, a new perspective, like Glenda said. Find those things in your life story that are getting in the way and see if you can let those things go. Bring new things in to live your own life story, your love story. And then don't add any more junk into your story. Don't let that stuff come in to make your love story icky. And then, and this is important because we all do this, look at your own experience and see where you've looked to other people, other places, other things, other experiences for a sense of your own loveliness. Take a look at how you're looking for it out there in one way or another, in stuff, in other people's opinions, in accomplishments, in your appearance, whatever that is. We spend a lot of money in our culture on clothing and cosmetic surgery and all these different things, trying to get this validation from out there. Well, take a look at that and see what that looks like for you. So, ask yourself, am I living my own love story? My invitation to you is sleep well, rest well, sweet dreams, pleasant dreams. Love yourself first. So we hope you've heard something, seen something, felt something today that made a difference to you, and that you can take with you when you leave this place today, that you can put into practice in your own life, in the world,